This happened when I was about 13, and I still don't know who or what it was. I live with my parents in a small house on the edge of town, in a quiet neighbourhood. The kind of place where nothing really happens. No traffic, no people walking at night, just silence. Quite a boring place, to be honest. And one night I woke up around 2:30 in the morning. I don't know why, but I just had this weird feeling, you know, the kind that someone is watching you. At first I tried to ignore it. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening. And that's when I heard something outside. Not footsteps, but laughing. Very quiet at first, like someone was trying not to be heard. I sat up in my bed and slowly walked towards the window. My bedroom looked over the front yard and the street. At first I couldn't see anything. The street lights barely lit the road, and everything looked empty. Then I noticed something standing at the end of our driveway. Someone wearing a clown costume. The suit looked dirty and old, like it had been worn for years. The face paint was pale, with a huge red smile painted across it. But what made my stomach drop was he wasn't moving. He was just standing there, staring directly at my house, up at me in the window. I stood frozen at the window for what felt like minutes, hoping he would walk away. He didn't. Suddenly, he waved, slowly, like he knew I was watching. I immediately dropped to the floor so he couldn't see me and ran to wake my dad. I told him there was a man dressed like a clown just standing in our driveway. My dad grabbed a flashlight and walked downstairs while I followed him. He turned on the porch light and opened the front door. The driveway was empty. No one was there. My dad looked around the yard and down the street but saw nothing. He told me it was probably some drunk messing around and sent me back to bed. But when I got back to my room, something made my heart stop. On the inside of my window, written in the condensation on the glass, were 3 words. I saw you. I used to babysit a lot when I was younger, mostly for families around the neighbourhood. One night I got a call from a couple who lived about 10 minutes away. I didn't know them too well, but I knew of the family. They needed someone to watch their 6-year-old son for the evening while they went out for dinner. When I got there, the house was nice, big, quiet. One of those places where every sound echoes a little. The parents showed me around quickly. The kid was already in his room watching cartoons, and they said he'd probably just fall asleep soon, so, just do what you want in the house. Nothing unusual. Except when I walked into his bedroom, I noticed something. I continued walking around the property with the family before they said, right, we're going to head off now for dinner. We will probably be back around, 11 p.m, so just make sure he goes to bed and just, watch some TV. They head out, and I went into the living room. I decided I was going to order a takeout, so called up the local Chinese, and then decided to put some Netflix on. I quickly went into the young boy's room just to check on him and make sure he was okay. When I walked into his bedroom, I noticed something. In the corner of the room, right next to his closet, was this life-size clown statue. Not like a small decoration. I mean like a full-size clown. Painted white face, big red smile, and it was just sort of stood there. I remember thinking, well, that's kind of creepy, but, kids have weird decorations sometimes. The boy didn't seem bothered by it at all, so I just ignored it. It was clearly just, the family clearly liked clowns a lot. Maybe it was the fathers, or maybe it was even the boys. About an hour later, the kid fell asleep. I turned off the lights, leaving only his little night lamp on, and went downstairs to carry on watching TV. Around 10:30, my phone rang. It was the dad checking in. He was going to be on his way back in around an hour. They were a little bit late. He asked me how everything was going, if his son had gone to sleep yet. I said, yeah, everything's good. Then jokingly I said, by the way, I didn't know you guys were, such big fans of clowns. There was a pause on the phone. He said, what do you mean? I laughed and said, the huge clown statue in your son's room. Another pause. Longer this time. The dad said, we don't have a clown statue. My stomach dropped. I started to say something, but he cut me off and his voice suddenly got loud. Get my son right now, take him, and get out of the house. We'll be coming back right now. I didn't even ask questions. I ran upstairs. The hallway felt darker than before, like the house had gone completely silent. I pushed open the boy's bedroom door. The nightlight was still on. The kid was asleep in bed. In the corner of the room was empty. The clown statue was gone. For a second I froze, trying to process what was going on. Then I heard something, a soft creak, from inside the closet. The door was slightly open. In the darkness inside, I saw the edge of a white face, smiling. I grabbed the kid, still half asleep, and ran. As I ran down the stairs, I heard the closet door upstairs slowly swing open, and something heavy step out onto the floor. We got outside just as the parents' car pulled into the driveway. The dad ran in with the police minutes later, but they never found anyone in the house. The only thing they did find was a pair of muddy footprints in the child's bedroom, right next to the bed. I still feel sick thinking about this. When my little brother turned 8, my parents hired a clown for his birthday party. It was supposed to be one of those normal kids' entertainers. Balloons, magic tricks, stupid jokes, the kind that shows up for an hour and then disappears. Around 20 kids were in our backyard, and at first, everything was pretty good. It seemed normal. The clown showed up in his old white van. His costume looked weird though. Not the bright and colourful sort like most clowns. It was faded, almost grey. The red paint around his mouth looked cracked. But the kids didn't care. They were laughing while he made balloon animals and did card tricks. The thing I remember most was how quiet he was. He barely spoke. Most of the time he just stared at the kids while smiling. At one point I walked past him, and I swear his eyes followed me the whole time. Like he wasn't looking at the kids, he was studying them. After about an hour, my mum came outside and said the party was ending. Parents started picking up their kids, but then something strange happened. The clown didn't leave. He just stayed sitting in a chair at the edge of the yard, still smiling. My dad finally walked over and said, "Right, man, party's over, you can go home now." The clown slowly stood up. Then he said something that made my dad freeze. He said, "But there's supposed to be 9. My dad frowned. "What?" The clown pointed towards the yard. "I counted when I arrived." He started pointing slowly at the kids. 1, 2, 3. My dad cut him off. "That's enough. Just go, man. Like, what's going on here?" The clown tilted his head like he was confused, then said something I'll never forget. "But one of them isn't mine." My dad grabbed his arm and basically dragged him towards the gate. The clown kept laughing as he left. Everyone thought he was just a weird performer. The next morning, everything changed. Police showed up at our house. Apparently another family in the neighbourhood had called them. The son never came home from the party. Everyone assumed he'd been picked up by another family or friend and gone for a sleepover. The police counted the kids in the photos from the party. There were 9. Only 8 kids had been invited, and the 9th one was wearing face paint, just like the clown. We never invited this kid to the birthday party. We didn't even know who he was, and I don't really remember seeing him there. The family of this young child came round to our house and said, "Did he stay here the night? Like, what's going on?" We said no, he wasn't even invited. We don't really know who you are. Clearly someone had invited this boy, but no one knows who it was. The parents were distraught. Their child had gone missing, and nobody knew where he had gone, and why he was wearing face paint and dressed like that. The boy never returned home, and is still missing to this day. Nobody knows what happened, and probably never will. As for the clown, he went missing without a trace as well. Nobody even had any records on who this man was. We hired him through a company that's meant to bring clowns to birthday parties. That company dissolved. No trace on it, no trace on the owners, no trace on the man.